have social studies. So I wanted to make sure that you all were able to complete your study guide and that you had the correct answers to study. So I'm going to project on to, can you guys see the screen that says good morning? Okay. So I'm going to put up here the key, and I'm just kind of going to go through and talk about the stuff that's on this slide. And if you need me to zoom in on anything, let me know. But the first section over on the left side of your page is mostly about cells. And so you had to tell the 3 things that plant cells have that animal cells don't. They have a cell wall, they have chloroplasts, they have one large vacuole. Animal cells, remember, have several smaller vacuoles because animals can move to water and plants cannot. What's the function of each organelle? Vacuoles store things. The nucleus is your control center. It stores DNA in the form of chromosomes. The chloroplast converts sunlight into sugars in plants. The cytoplasm fills the cell, holds all the organelles in place. The cell membrane allows things to enter and exit the cell, right? It controls the barrier between the cell and the outside world. The mitochondria is that powerhouse. It produces energy. The cell wall gives that support and structure. This bottom section on that left side, several of the in-person students had trouble with it, and I'm sure that you guys were probably similar. You weren't quite sure what to do on that side. So this is kind of what I was thinking, was that you would be able to give yourself some diagrams to help you remember that that high turgor pressure, or to be turgid, means that the vacuole or storage center for water is full. And so in the diagram, you would draw in that box, which represents the cell, a full vacuole that's full of water, right? And all of the other organelles are kind of pushed to the outside edges, like when we did the lab and saw the chloroplasts earlier in the semester. Then when we applied that salt to those cells, the chloroplasts were all kind of more clumped together because the vacuole was depleted of its water, right? So this would be low turgor pressure, or not turgid, right? So water makes cell walls strong because it pushes up against them and gives them that firmness. And a lack of water does not support the stem. And so that's where we get like wilty plants sometimes because of water. In stomata, remember, stomata open to allow in carbon dioxide in and to allow oxygen and water out. When a plant starts to lose turgor pressure, those guard cells, which control the opening and closing, they close to keep the plant from losing any more water because they're already losing water. Does that make sense? Everybody good so far? Any questions about anything yet? Okay. All right. On the right side, these were mostly for reproduction, right? And so this is mostly the stuff we've been talking about over the last week or so. And so I wanted to make sure that you guys had it said several different ways. So some of these even kind of sound repetitive, but I wanted you guys to have some of that verbiage that you might see on your exam. So in sexual reproduction, that's the type of reproduction that produces diverse offspring because you have 2 different sets of DNA to create an entirely new set of DNA. Organisms that reproduce sexually will have different genetic material than either parent, producing diverse offspring. So you're going to see those words diverse on your test. So I wanted to make sure that you guys understood that that was sexual reproduction when you see diversity. In asexual reproduction, offspring gets an identical set of chromosomes from only one biological parent. This is like the copy machine where it kind of clones itself. In sexual reproduction, each parent donates half the chromosomes. Remember, because sexual reproduction is 2 parents, asexual is 1 parent. In sexual reproduction, offspring receives a different set of chromosomes for each parent, giving the offspring a pair of chromosomes different than each parent, right? So remember, you're going to see those words different, half, diverse. Those are going to be for sexual reproduction. Asexual reproduction, you're going to see words like identical, one, duplicate, to help kind of show you guys the difference in the vocabulary that you're going to see. Asexual reproduction creates duplicate copies identical to the parent, enabling these types of organisms to reproduce no matter the conditions, but they can only make exact copies of themselves, right? So there's, benefits to both types of reproduction. Organisms that reproduce asexually will have exactly the same genetic makeup, producing uniform offspring. In asexual reproduction, all the DNA comes from one parent. So I just wanted it, I know it repeats itself there, but I wanted you guys to see the different ways that they might say things on the test so that you kind of could keep track of it. Everybody good? Okay. I'm going to flip to this next page. So this part at the top of the page, at number 13, we were looking for how, what systems interact the most to help the body be able to reproduce. And those two would be the reproductive system and the endocrine system. Remember, reproductive system, its job is to produce offspring. Endocrine system controls the hormones of the body. So both of those are important for reproduction. We're talking about helping the body move. We're talking about the muscular system and the skeletal system, right? Skeletal, the skeleton can't move on its own, and the muscle doesn't have anything to move if we don't have the skeleton. So those two interact to be able to move, like when we did the chicken wing dissection. The two that help interact to help the body get supplied with oxygen is the respiratory system and the circulatory system. Respiratory system brings in oxygen. Circulatory system is going to carry it to where it needs to go. Does that make sense? Does somebody have a question? Very good. Yuri, what's up?
So for the shaded ones, I circled them. Is that okay?
Sure. Absolutely. Totally fine. All right. On the last one, you were supposed to shade 3 boxes that contain systems that interact to excrete waste. So they get rid of something. And so that would be the excretory system. That's the system, remember, that contains the kidneys and helps to filter liquid waste from the bloodstream. Respiratory system gets rid of gaseous waste in the form of carbon dioxide. And your digestive system gets rid of solid waste through your intestinal tract. Okay? All right. Speaking of intestinal tract, let's talk about physical and chemical digestion. Remember, the main things you need to remember about physical digestion is that physical digestion involves physical changes to the food. Right? Remember last year when we talked about physical and chemical changes. It's the same thing when it comes to digestion. Physical digestion is a physical change to the food. These are going to be words like tearing, mashing, moving, churning. Those are all physical. Okay. When it comes to chemical digestion, a chemical change happens. That means it's going to usually have some type of chemical, right? It's going to have saliva, which has enzymes, or bile or acid. It's going to have some type of chemical that's helping it to break down the chemical bonds that hold our food together. Does that make sense? Okay. All right. At the number 19, you were just circling which one was physical and which one was chemical. So when teeth tear things, there's that tearing word. That's going to be physical, right? It's just a physical change. Mashing, that's another word, physical, right? Stomach secreting acid to break down food. Acid, ding, 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 chemical, right? Saliva, remember we talked about those enzymes that start breaking down those sugars in our mouth. That's also a chemical change. And then the large intestine absorbing water, a lot of my in-person kids had trouble with this one. But remember, we're not changing anything chemically. We're just removing water, right? And so just the large intestine absorbing water, that's still just a physical change. Does that make sense? Everybody tracking? Okay. All right. Number 20, 3 ways the skin helps the body maintain homeostasis. So you're going to see a question that is asking about homeostasis. This one is definitely one of the ones you're going to see on your test. So what are 3 ways? Well, you can get chill bumps, right? It protects you from water loss or injury, right? That physical barrier outside of your body to separate what's inside our body from what's outside our body. And then when we get hot, sweat helps us to cool down, right? So it helps a lot with maintaining our body temperature. On number 21, oops, sorry guys. Number 21, you were filling in on the right side the formula for photosynthesis. So you needed to add a 6 in front of that carbon dioxide. You needed to add 6 water molecules, H2O. And then on the right of the glucose, you needed to add 6 oxygen molecules. So it should kind of look like this when you get it done. I did not put glucose in your word bank, so you can see that I wrote it in on my copy. So if you got down to the bottom and were like, Miss Young, I need to use glucose, and it is not there, you were right. I made a mistake on your word bank. So you can go ahead and add that, and maybe if you put a question mark there, know that you were right. Good job. So I'm just going to read that section down here at the bottom so that you guys can make sure you've got it filled in correctly. In the process of photosynthesis, light energy from the sun, you might also see the word radiant energy. that means the same thing, is chemically combined with carbon dioxide and water. This is a chemical reaction. Chemical reactions change substances into new substances. The new substances created through photosynthesis are glucose and oxygen. Cellular respiration is another reaction that happens in all cells of plants and animals. Everybody good so far? Awesome. Okay. All right, so we're going to go to page 3. So page 3, you are going to, at the top on this section, you are going to name the organ, name the system the organ belongs to, and then tell what the job of that system is. So I'm going to start on the left with brain, and I'm going to go down that left side, and then we'll go down the right side. So the first one was the brain. It's a part of our nervous system. It helps to control all of our body's functions, take in and send information to and from the brain. It processes and controls everything else in the body. The ribs are a part of the skeletal system. Their job is to protect and support. The liver is technically a part of the digestive system, though we know that it kind of is an interaction place, right? Because it filters our blood from the foods that we eat through our digestive system. Our stomach is also a part of our digestive system. It breaks down food by churning it. That's a physical change. And by secreting acids that help to break down the chemical bonds, which is a chemical change. The next picture is pointing to a kidney. This kidney is part of the excretory system. The excretory system's job is to filter blood from the body. When we go to the right side, that's a picture of our lungs. The lungs are a part of our respiratory system. The respiratory system's job is to exchange gases, carbon dioxide and oxygen. The next picture is the heart. It's a part of the circulatory system. The circulatory system moves blood and nutrients throughout the body. The small and large intestine is the next one. It's also a part of the digestive system. It breaks down and absorbs food, nutrients from the food we eat. This one was kind of tricky because I'm not sure that everybody had a diagram of this one. So this one at the bottom was an ovary it was pointing to. The ovaries are part of the reproductive system. The job of the reproductive system is to create offspring. Number 24 was asking about cell. Oh, do you guys have any questions about that top part? Good. I know you guys can hear the pledges in the background. Okay, so number 24, you are going to list just the 3 parts of cell theory. I think there's a couple of questions about cell theory on there. Number 1, all living things are made of cells. Number 2, cells are the fundamental unit of life. They're the smallest thing that's alive on its own. And number 3, all cells come from pre-existing cells. On number 25, you have some diagrams here, and some of my in-person kids had a little trouble with this. So if you've got 2 parents, that should just tell you that's sexual reproduction. If you have 1 parent, that's asexual. So the first diagram is going to be sexual reproduction, right? 2 parents and the child looks like one of the parents. Asexual reproduction, splitting from 1 parent into 2. And then 2 different parents producing a different offspring is also sexual reproduction, right? Everybody good on that section? Can you give me a thumbs up if you're good? Anybody need me to go over anything else? Okay. You guys are doing awesome. All right, number 26. This question was asking about these 2 Punnett squares over here on the right. And remember, Punnett squares help us to predict what offspring are going to look like from certain parents. So what do these 2 have in common? Well, they're both homozygous, right? These are all homozygous dominant, and these are all homozygous recessive. They have the same allele combination. How are they different? Well, this one that has the capital letters, this one is dominant. These are the stronger genes, homozygous dominant. And the small letters represent homozygous recessive genes. Does that make sense? Good. All right, number 28. Ellie and her 3 sisters have big feet. Everyone in their family speaks French. Elle and her brother have red hair while her 3 sisters have brown hair. Elle's brother has small feet. Elle and her dad both work out 3 times a week, so they are fast runners. Which traits are inherited? This one was a little tricky. because some people think that running fast is an inherited trait. And while having athletic ability can be genetic, training, right, like her and her dad working out 3 times a week, increases your ability to run fast, right? Speaking French or any other language is not an inherited trait, it's a learned trait. So foot size and hair color were the only 2 inherited traits on that list. Everybody good? Okay. Then you were going to label the parts of the cells that I listed for you. Over here on the animal cell, which is on the left side, which is kind of the roundish one. You've got the rough ER that's right here around the nucleus. You've got your cell membrane all the way around the edges. You've got mitochondria. You've got your vacuole. Over here on the right, your plant cell, you can see it's got a big vacuole, right, keeping it nice and strong. And then we've got a nucleus, our rough ER right next to it, mitochondria, chloroplasts, and the cell wall. Remember, chloroplasts and cell wall, these are only going to be in the plant cells. Okay, oops. At the bottom, everybody good? Any questions about that cell labeling part? Okay, number 30 is just definitions. So I'm just kind of going to read through the definitions, and then if you guys have any questions, let me know. Genetics is the study of heredity or the passing of traits from generation to generation. Heredity means passing of characteristics or traits from one generation to the next, right? So passing things down. Chromosomes are strands of DNA that are coiled and compacted in the nucleus of our cells, eukaryotic cells. Inherited traits are traits that you get from a parent, right? Trait that is passed down from your genetic parents. A stimuli is anything that causes a reaction or a change. Dominant is the strong version of a gene. It covers recessive traits, and we use a capital letter to represent them. Recessive is the weaker version of a gene. It's only shown if both parents are recessive, and we use a lowercase letter to represent recessive alleles. Genes are segments of DNA that control a specific trait, like eye color, hair color, height, that kind of thing. Okay? Any questions about those definitions? I wanted you guys to have the list of them because some of them are kind of similar. So I wanted that kind of quick look that you could reference for your test. Okay. All right. Number 31, 3 learned traits. Oops. 3 learned traits. This can be anything you learn to do, right? I listed running, basketball, and talking. It could be walking. It could be crawling. It could be anything that you can learn to do, right? And then 3 inherited traits are going to be things like eye color, hair color, height, what skin color you have, if your hair is curly or straight, whether you need to wear glasses or not. There could also be a variety of inherited traits listed there. I just wanted to kind of give you guys some options. Any questions about inherited traits versus learned traits? All right. You guys are doing awesome. This is going super fast. Okay. So here are our tropisms, and this one was pretty straightforward. You were just going to list what the tropism was and then what the tropism was in response to. So the first picture all the way on the left, you can see the sunshine over there. The plants are turned towards the sun. That's phototropism, and this tropism is in response to light. In the second picture, the vine is climbing up that pole. That's thigmotropism. That's the tropism that is in response to touch. Geotropism is the next picture, and this is in response to gravity. You can see that the roots are starting to grow down, even though the pot is laid on its side, and the leaves are starting to grow up, right? They're growing in response to where gravity's pull is. And you're going to want to make sure you have gravity listed there, not just the earth, because in your questions on tropisms, you're going to see the word gravity for geotropism. Hydrotropism is the last one. I don't know if you guys could see, but it says roots grow towards water. And that one was just kind of tricky to see because that was really the only way to know that that one was hydrotropism, but it was the last one and the only one left. So this is when roots kind of grow towards a water source when they don't have one. And that's hydrotropism. Okay. Any questions about tropisms? That's good. All right, number 37, I kind of wanted to give you guys a visual of those levels of organization. And so all the way on the right at the very smallest nesting doll is the cell. That's the most simple form of a living thing. Cells make up tissues, right? Tissues are a group of cells that work together towards a specific job. A group of different types of tissues makes up an organ, like the heart or the lungs, that does a specific job. An organ system is made up of several organs that work together, like the heart works with all of the blood vessels in the circulatory system, or the lungs and the trachea work with together in the respiratory system. So all of those systems then work together to create an organism, like a human being, right? So from the most simple to the most complex. Over on the right side, we've got several different behaviors and structures on animals that we kind of briefly covered in our genetics notes that help them either survive or reproduce. So the first one is bright colored flowers. Bright colored flowers help plants be able to reproduce because pollinators are attracted to bright flowers. And in order to reproduce, several types of plants need pollinators to move their pollen, right? The male reproductive cell to the female reproductive flower. Number 39 is hibernation. Hibernation helps organisms to be able to survive cold temperatures or really, really hot temperatures, right? So maybe they go to hibernate because they can't get food, and so it helps them be able to survive, right? That's a survival instinct that doesn't help them reproduce, but it helps them be able to survive the winter. Number 40 was showing off plumage. This is birds, right? Plumage is like your feathers, like a peacock has a big plumage. And these birds show them off in order to attract a mate. And so that helps them be able to reproduce. Number 41 was asking about digging burrows. Some organisms dig burrows to help them hide from predators or to stay warm if it's cold, or to stay cool if they live in the desert. So digging burrows is going to help them be able to survive in their environment. Any questions on that page, guys? Did I not put the last page? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, that's all of them. I didn't put the sweater page. The sweater page was your choice. I was like, I thought there was one more. All right, so the sweater page was just maybe if you have trouble or know that you get a couple of terms confused and you want to have that as a quick reference point for yourself, that you could fill that in. Some of my students here just kind of colored them with Christmas colors, and that's fine too. It was just there for if you get, a couple of things confused or you want to have something quick, that it was there for you to have it all in one place. Does anybody have any questions about the study guide or your exam that I did not answer? Okay. Yes, Ariana.
This isn't really a question about the answers, but for number 20, I wasn't really specific. I just put maintain temperature and eliminate waste such as sweat. Is that fine?
Number 20. Yes, that's fine. Edward, I saw that your hand was up as well. Did you have a question?
Yeah. So what do I do on the other study guide? Because all I did was print out the other one, but I didn't turn that one in.
It doesn't have to be turned in. It's for you to use on your exam.
Oh, it's just for printing it?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And some people can't print them, so I put it in Teacher Made because some people don't have access to printers, so that they could make text boxes on top of the test there, or of the study.
Can I just turn it in?
Yeah, you can just click turn in.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else have any questions? You guys feel ready for it?
Yes.
I feel like you guys are ready. You can use your study guide on the exam, so feel free to use that while you're taking your test. And you'll see your test posted on Wednesday in science. Other than that, you won't see posts from me. I'll probably just post in the stream like, good luck on your language arts test. But you won't see any assignments posted until Wednesday, okay? And it will be in Eduphoria again through ClassLink, just like your other common assessments.
Okay.
Okay. I hope you guys have a fantastic Friday.
You too.
We're almost done with semester 1, guys. Whoop, whoop. All right. Enjoy your weekend. Study a little, relax a little, and I will see you guys next time.
Bye.
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 Have a great weekend.
Bye.
I know this is a hard question, but how do you leave stream?
How do you what?
How do you leave? Oh wait, I found it. Never mind.
Hang up
Bye.
button at the bottom. Bye.
Bye.